But I still, just as Joe everyday movie watcher, but Joe everyday great film reviewer, I'd like to think, I would not necessarily think that is a low number of candelabras to have.
I want everyone to, I got a visual for everybody. So everyone listening, Adam, John, picture me inside the mansion in Ready or Not, just a large mansion. And actually picture me inside of a dark mahogany rich mansion.
Are you wearing a 7-piece wedding dress?
No, oh my gosh. No, I am wearing cargo shorts. I have a shirt that is very wrinkled. My socks don't match. I have stubble. I'm drinking coffee, and I have a hat that's askew, and I look sleepy because I've been working 14 nights in a row. Mm-hmm. They come up to me. I'm in this set. I got cargo pants. I have my call sheets on me. I have my radio. I have my surveillance headset in. And someone comes up to me and they're like, Mark, we got some bad news, man. Like what? Like the camera go down? Like the house is burning? We lost permits? We don't have a car? The extras didn't show up? Like what happened? We only have 5 candelabras. I'd be like, give me 2. I'll make it work. That's the visual I wanted you guys to have.
I think you make half a candelabra work.
I would. So I love Ready or Not, but when they were complaining about that, I was like, guys, come on. I worked a movie one time and I just had one fake plant that I had to use for the entire shoot. I didn't make it work. It looks terrible.
But in their defense, movies like Ready or Not and Knives Out are very candelabra-centric films.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, if I was shooting Phantom of the Opera and I only had 5 candelabras, I'm in trouble. No, I could make that work. I could do it.
You have 4 candles.
Yeah, if I had, I could make 4 candles work.
You chop them all in half, 8 candles.
Then they're ready.
That's like in Rain Man. He's like, I want 8 fish sticks. So he cuts them in half. And he's like, no, you have 8. The 4.5. Yeah, but yeah, I hope you guys got a nice visual of me complaining about candelabras because that's, they didn't have to worry about that on this movie's though. Now,
thank goodness.
All right, John, we never talked about this. What was your favorite racing moment in this movie?
Racing shenanigans more than racing itself. This movie did not capture me with the components of of feeling the rush of the race. That was never there for me. So for me, this was more a stunt here, a stunt there. The French dude uses his spear hook on speed, so he uses his jumping thing because he sees the camera coming up to, show that dude's cheating. Like, okay, I felt good about that. Almost all the shenanigans in that cross-country thing in the dust clouds, that Fury Road scene, again, with like those kind of like dangling Morning Star things and Lunch in the Beehives, those were awesome. But again, for me, it was all like stunty special effects shenanigans and no moments that captured the rush of the race.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, I'd agree with what John said. I think that's a lot of the appeal for me, but I also think for something like this, which if we haven't emphasized it enough, I'm sure it has elsewhere, where it's just so in your face and overwhelming and spectacular. But, I wouldn't go so far as to say you can always follow the narrative of the race, right? Like you're not sitting there going, oh, this is like lap 2. He's almost there. Like nobody needs that, right? It's all about the emotional beats. And I think with respect to how it's shown on screen, this movie should get more credit for, I guess, I don't know, all factors considered, you're not watching something that's directed by Paul Greengrass, right? Like, as much as I think the Bourne movies are good, those I just resent for their sort of jaggy cuts. And you don't really get a whole lot of that in these. Like, you're able to sort of let the eye relax and see a car go down a ramp. Yeah. Which is kind of refreshing. So, obviously that doesn't answer your question, but I think my answer would probably be the final race, which again is more emotional justification than anything. But yeah, I just think this movie could have easily become even more incomprehensible with poor editing. But I do appreciate the fact that you're allowed to sort of watch things for longer than a couple seconds and understand where their moves are being made.
So I have a question for you guys. So I'm watching the final race, and it's after he has defeated the Frenchman who was using the spear hook,
cheaters,
right?
Yeah.
And his car is stalled, and in the stands, Pops and Mom are talking about like, okay, think about it. If you think about it, you can figure this out. Like, this is what you need to. If you skip it into 5th gear, you can jump start the car.
But does he know that, right?
But the thing is that in my head, watching that race scene, those two were up front, and so when they say this and he starts driving again, at first I thought it was just to finish the race. And then I realized, wait, he's catching up to other people. Mm-hmm. So that like just in understanding the scope of the race and where people were.
Right.
It's not just that I don't think this movie did a good job of conveying it. It's that did I forget this? When they both went down, did other cars pass them? Because I don't even remember that.
No, they were still front.
So they were not showing us that felt like they were the two front runners to me. The way that it was presented.
That's fair, and I obviously don't have it in front of me to check, but I do think with how long he's stalled out, it's reasonable to assume that he's been passed already. But I understand, sometimes you just need the quick visual to just let that symbol or signify.
Or in the background while he's sitting there, and then you hear the zzz, and the car shakes for a second. You see in the corner of the screen a flash of light, and it's like, whoa, sure. Andretti and Ford have crossed him. I don't know. So that, especially the first time I watched it, really confused me because the moment he jump starts the car, I think that's the victory.
Okay, so that scene had little to no sort of weight for you then, pretty much, because he's obviously searching inward to find out he's using his instincts, right? Using the force might as well be to get back in the race, which is an important character moment. But you're right, if you think that he's just sort of stalled out and still in the lead, it might not pack as much of a punch.
Well, but of course, if he can't finish the race, then anyone would pass him eventually, right?
Sure.
But again, this is one of those things too, where the first viewing, where I was kind of distracted more, I guess, by the effect contrast. I didn't really care about much. Whereas in this, I appreciated those character moments, looking at Pops, looking at Racer X in his super elegant luxury box.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what kind of arrangement was that?
He had a nice setup and some arm
Detector's got some money.
Right. But so I appreciate it. And the other thing is that the second time I'm watching, I already know this.
Yeah.
So it didn't throw me. But again, the first time I'm just like, wait, what the hell?
Yeah.
Mark?
Catapults.
Mark likes to talk about a lot, and it gets me thinking about it a lot when I watch movies now, especially horror movies or just violent action movies. Is I really appreciate understanding the architecture and dimensionality of the house, if you will, that we're in, or the space that we're in. Understanding what's where, and again, this we didn't convey that. Even when we saw some people making their Tokyo Drift hard turns around their I don't know, Roger Rabbit, Blade Runner racetracks, you never really got a feel for how they were doing in the race.
Yeah.
And I think that's partially why, well, maybe not why, but the necessity of all the talking heads. Let's be real, as much as I enjoy them, they are very, very, I don't want to say intrusive, but they don't let you off the hook. They remind you they're there. So if you don't know what's going on, rest assured there's going to be 2 or 3 people exclaiming in some dramatic fashion, right, to give you the play-by-play.
That's interesting. You say dramatic fashion. These are almost like theatrical asides.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice way to maybe kind of explain what's going on in the audience and then keep the budget down too.
Really, almost like a Greek chorus. I know that's completely pretentious, but it really does serve the same purpose.
I mean, there's a lot of wow, I never thought about it like that. Listen to you guys. I'm just talking about candelabras over here.
I mean, we learned from.
I think I initiated that.
The one thing we haven't really talked about yet, guys, is Spritle and Chim Chim. Did you warm up to them the second time around, John?
So I mentioned that there were certain things that I wasn't fond of that bothered me more the second time, and that was pretty much everything about them.
Yeah. What about you? Oh, you haven't watched it since then, but have you changed your opinion about them, Adam?
Well, no, but John's comment makes me think, what's the classic adage that they use on film sets, right? You never work with kids, you never work with animals, and this movie does both. And I think the fact that the interplay is as quote unquote fun as it is between the two of them, I appreciate. And I also think we brought about last time on the pod where, if going back to this 2021 Speed Racer iteration, that would be, would they have used a real live animal as opposed to something completely CGI'd? So I do kind of, rose tinted lenses, but I do kind of appreciate that they used live animal on this one.
I like Chim Chim. And the kid's not bad. I want to ask you guys a question. I've been reading stuff like about Star Wars lately with May the 4th coming out, and I've been working on some posts about Star Wars. And I hear a lot of people dogging on Jake Lloyd's performance. This was a kid.
Is Jake Lloyd young Anakin?
Yeah, he was 10 years old. And it's like,
they can go to hell.
Yeah, it's like, you're an adult movie critic writer, and you are like, there's a lot. If you go out and read, like, professional writers will just be like, yeah, Jake Lloyd sucked in Phantom Menace.
He's an easy target.
I'm like, that's a child on set. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying this kid in it was bad. I just got annoyed by that thing, so I wanted to talk
I'm not trying to hate on anything in any way, shape, or dimension. But
it's more the character, right?
If we're looking at a movie that is easily Liam Neeson's worst performance of his career, why are we attacking this kid?
Is it the lowest for him? I don't know. He's done a lot of stuff.
I absolutely think so. Yes, all right,
that's the next bracket then.
I've been struggling with this since I saw The Phantom Menace in theaters.
Damn,
is how dry his performance was, and not in an in-character way.
There's a scene in the second one where Ewan McGregor's talking to a guy, and the guy's like, "I'm worried about her," and then it's two guys talking to each other. I'm really worried about him. And then the guy goes, well, I think I'd be more worried about her. And then they both go, ha, 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 ha. I was like, oh, brother, what just happened?
Is it like a women joke? Is that like a low-hanging fruit women joke?
No, which one?
No, you sort of the way you said it. I don't know what the line is or the exchange is, but it sounded like, it sounds like another one of those, ha, women.
No, I think that's what it is, because Amidala and Anakin are going to that planet where he's going to talk about sand, which is totally fine. Sand is terrible. But, like, they're going, and they're like, I'm worried about him. I'm worried about her. Or I'm worried...
the way you say it is familiar, but I don't remember the exchange, so I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I haven't seen the originals in a bit.
I crushed my soul. We're doing a Revenge of the Sith episode, or it should be out when this comes out, but we're doing the final fights about the lightsaber duel.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. That's great. But yeah, I mean, the kid... Spritle, I guess. I think these movies, and not just because Speed Racer had a character who was a kid who just snuck into your trunk and went along for the ride, because that's what kids do, I guess. But they serve, right, to be sort of that stand-in for the audience under 10, right? Like there's this big, shiny, colorful world that maybe you don't understand everything, but at least I can relate to and pretend to feel like this kid who's experiencing it along with me.
Yeah. And he eats a lot of candy. I think
family movies just need those. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's right, though. I mean, he goes after the candy. Kids love that. They have the Segway chase.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it last time, too, this idea of how many Segways they were using. I don't know if this predated the big kickoff with...
That was a lot of Segways.
Yeah, it was a lot of Segways.
Was this before or after Paul Blart? I want to know.
Right. Before? Was it after Paul Blart? It was clearly before ride shares took off in the way of... maybe those scooters and Segways, but I don't know about Paul Blart. What was the year on that one?
Paul Blart 2009. So this came out before it.
This inspired Paul Blart.
Wow.
Are we forgiving of it for that, or are we?
I'm just more impressed.
It's a lot of Segways, guys. It's a lot.
We saw like 100 CGI Segways.
I gotta tell you, when you're watching Speed Racer and you peg and you figure out that there's way too many Segways, there's too many Segways.
To me, that's true, actually. I was gonna say something like, that's exactly what a overbearing capitalist industrialist society looks like in the future, or I guess now, right? But here you are, just hitting me with the.
What's the deal with all the Segways?
I own no Segways. I want that on the record.
Has anyone here ever ridden a Segway?
No.
I feel like I'd fall off.
I feel like I'm over the weight limit.
I don't trust it. I wouldn't stop. I'd get hit by a car. Get wiped out. I'd ride around in a safe area. If there's a padded room, I'd do it.
I mean, it's safe enough for Paul Blart.
All right. Final thoughts about this movie, guys? Anything else you wanted to cover before we get out of here?
My final thoughts are very different than our lost recording. So I still never necessarily want to see this movie again.
I got bad news for you, John. No, I'm joking.
Do we not record? But again, like it's such a unique movie. This is the Scott Pilgrim versus the world of race movies. It's a weird thing, and I have reached the point where, before I said I never want to see this again. I'm happy it's made, but I never want to see it again. Whereas now I'd say, if I introduced someone to The Matrix or Jupiter Ascending, and someone said, "Wow, the Wachowskis are awesome. I want to see everything they've done. And if it was like my girlfriend or my cousin or something, I'd be like, well, I now own Speed Racer because I did